Hello and welcome back to Marvel Puzzle Quest with me, P.I. McLeod. And hey, take a look here. If you're seeing what I'm seeing, it's, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. 6 days in a row of legendary tokens coming up. They're going to treat us really nice for this 10-year anniversary, but man, you don't get a day off if you want all this. You got to do it. You got to be diligent. Anyways. Welcome to the stream, and I have to say first off, I am using a new app for this. Please bear with me. There might be some growing pains. This one's called Prism. I'm not getting paid to say any of this stuff, don't worry. I've had some notice before about maybe quality issues, and I wanted to see if I could maybe, I don't know, spice it up a little bit, add something more, and I'm going to try to learn another app or two, a little function here and there. I know I'm slow to the game. Well, maybe not Marvel Puzzle Quest, but I'm slow to the game of streaming, and I want to see if we can get it better. Does that make sense? I think it does. So, okay, well, let's start off with, first we want to rate the 5 stars of 2023 before we go and crash a Titan, okay? To do this, let's go to Versus. I'm going to select the class of 2023, because this will be the easiest way to take a look at all of them. And we're going to click on any one of the nodes. It doesn't matter who we're going against because we're not really going to fight them. We're going to filter it down to 5 stars. Alphabetical order. And we're going to just go through them in, well, alphabetical order, one at a time. We're not going to click Omega Red up there until it's his turn in alphabetical order. We know how to follow the alphabet, right? So let's go through them. We're going to give them a low, mid, high range rating. Maybe like a tier up or tier down, like a high medium or a low high, something like that. But you get the point in the end, I hope. This is only meant to be used as rating for the individual character themselves, not judging based on their team ups or what their potentiality could be. It's just for their individual character rating amongst the other characters in that year. Okay? So this could highly fluctuate based on how other characters are in other years, and if you want to add in other variables, I'm just rating it for the year itself. So let's start off. First up, we have the High Evolutionary. Man, so it's hard to believe we're already at the latest characters, and here we are with the HE, High Evolutionary. He comes from the third Guardians movie, and and obviously he has better or much older comic book origins, but he is definitely a powerhouse in this game, if only for the fact that he's got these really interesting buffs that make high health and match damage even better. It's not like he's a bruiser or a tank, it's just the idea that he's supposed to tweak the genetic makeup and make someone better, their best selves, you know? He's a very interesting toolkit, and by himself, he is definitely a threat. With certain other characters, he could be, nigh unstoppable. But of course, there's always a way around stuff, right? Let's start off with his powers in order here. The blue one, Iteration, we'll pump up to 5 so you can see the full effect. For 8 blue, he deals some damage to the target, plus extra damage. For every research counter on the board, up to 15 of those will count. What are those? Well, hey, we'll skip down to the passive so it makes more sense. Passive says whenever an enemy makes a match or fires a power, you add a research counter and you gain +1 AP in their strongest color. Okay, so you're going to get more AP when they make matches and fire powers, and so he's helping you to create your resources, not to mention get these research counters out there. So right there, it's an amazing character for that point alone. At 6 or more of these counters, when you fire this off, you not just that damage, but you also get a 3-turn countdown tile that reduces that target's ability ranks by 2 while it's on the board. Only one of these can go out per enemy though, so it's not as good as like Wanda's blue in that for this regard, but of course Wanda's blue is not doing just flat damage either, is it? At 10 or more counters, you can stun the target for 2 turns. Obviously it's nice to wait for the 10 counters. I mean, if you just want that damage nice and early, just to pop someone upside the head, go ahead. Waiting for it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes you just want to do the damage now. Anyways, from Iteration, you go on to Missing Link. Again, start with the passive down there. That passive says if High Evolutionary is not the highest level character, he gains up to 140% bonus max health, ability damage, and base match damage based on the difference their levels up to level 550. Then repeat this for his allies up to his level instead. This passive cannot be disabled by stuns. So in other words, even if he goes against Chasm right in the beginning, who stuns everyone right off the rip, this will still go off no matter what. And then there's that active ability for 6 yellow, right? You get to choose an ally, and this can include himself, by the way. You increase their max health by 13%, and their ability and base damage, match damage, by 18%. Up to his max health and strongest base match damage of a teammate's chosen. In other words, you're just making them healthier and stronger than what they ever were. You might think that it's only a small amount for that, but honestly, there's no cap. More health and more match damage over and over and over again. And if you know how percentages work, this means that it gets better every time you use it. So it's definitely something you want to put on your big bruiser, and it can be High Evolutionary himself. It might seem kind of weird to make your support character all of a sudden a bruiser, but he kind of is one. He has a lot of health. He can take care of himself very well with this ability, make himself healthier and stronger just with this alone. And of course, he has his blue to help back him up for more damage output options. But then you have to add in this black, which does not have a passive. Instead, for 8 black, you deal 12% permanent damage to the target and reduce their match damage by 15%, up to a maximum of 60% reduction is allowed. But then if your maximum health is greater than the target's, he then deals additional damage equal to that difference in health, which is only, unfortunately, up to 18% of his maximum health. But this is another reason why your maximum health needs to be raised with your own yellow. If he uses his own yellow on himself, then this black gets actually stronger because your maximum health is better, and of course you're just going to do more overall. It's not a lot of really to understand this character. There's a lot of numbers, percentages. It looks confusing, but really what you got here is yellow makes you healthier and stronger. Blue does some damage with, depending on how many matches the enemy has had, how many turns, they might get extra effects thrown at them. And this black is just a big old nuke. And it does better if you've used yellow on yourself more often. That's really what we're boiling this down to. Is he a great character? I'd say so. He's super helpful. He's not, and this yellow doesn't heal himself. It increases his max health, which means he's actually going to have more health than when you did before you cast it. So it's kind of like a pseudo healing, and it's only for that match. I don't want to call it burst healing, but it kind of acts like that. So yeah, he's pretty darn good. He's got 2 nice ways to nuke, ways to up his health and match damage, and built-in stun options if you're willing to wait for it. I'd say he's pretty darn good. I don't know if he's high tier. Let me see if I can move this icon to the side here. All right, about there. Does that sound good? I think that's good. Out of all these characters, how would I rate High Evolutionary? That's an interesting point. Let's see. 5s. Ooh, boy. High Evolutionary out of these dudes? He's probably high tier. I kind of want to do like a low high tier, but no. I think he's high tier. We can leave it there. I mean, we can always double back and edit our words if we really want, but I think he's high tier. It's kind of hard to say because he doesn't have a lot of other things to talk about. He's just pure damage, pure strengthening of yourself or your allies. He's got a little bit of AP generation help, and that's always nice, but it's not the real reason people use him. Let's move on, though, shall we? After High Evolutionary, you got Jeffrey, the symbiote version, not the 3-star cutesy shark version, although, come on, he does kind of look cute still. Jeffrey is an interesting little character for this game. He's supposed to be the idea of a land shark, which is featured in some of the comics with Jeffrey, but the symbiote version of him. So, you know, if the Venom or Carnage symbiote got a hold of him. Jeffrey comes on into the game with 3 interesting abilities, and it's part of the whole kit that they were doing at the time to try to nerf Chasm. Chasm was running rampant in the game, and they wanted to figure out how to get around that. So, Jeffrey is one of the attempts to nerf that. Let's start off with his purple, Powerful Friends. For 9 purple, there's no passive in here, unfortunately, but let's take a look at what it really does. It's kind of like how the Avengers Assemble and other group gathering abilities work. Instead, for this one, he calls in the animal friends. So, Lockheed, you know, the dragon, creates a 1-turn repeater that causes damage per turn. Goose, the cat, right? You know, the Flurkin, I should say, destroys 3 random enemy strike, attack, and protect tiles. Lucky gives burst healing to the team. Tippy Toe, the squirrel, drops acorns at an enemy, which deal an actual good amount of damage, ignoring projectiles. It makes you wonder what's in those acorns. And Gator Loki provides Jeff with some cover, making him invisible for 2 turns with a invisibility countdown tile. This is honestly not the best reason to use Jeffrey. For 9 purple, you get a lot of fun effects, and there's some good damage in there, but it is pretty pricey for this day and age. 2023 has a lot of cheap abilities, a lot of passives going on, things that you could count on quite often. You have to get the 9 purple to get this working. The good thing is that there is a repeater in here, and there is a countdown in here to keep you invisible for a few. So once you do cast it, you do have a couple things that are ongoing for a minute, but that's probably the best I could say about it. His red, So Hungry, is, 8 red, and, basically just deals some raw damage to him, and it's pretty decent damage. And you get a 2-turn Fortified, countdown that deals some damage every turn. And that damage is pretty darn good every time. It is 2-turn Fortified, so you don't get it the one time, but it's almost doubling the damage. Anyway, so when it expires, he also heals for a really good amount. So you deal some damage, you get a countdown that deals damage each turn, and then when it goes away, you get good healing. It's not bad for the cost, really. As a passive, all allied symbiotes, and this includes himself, gain 20% bonus match damage and receive 15% less damage as they cover for one another. In other words, any other symbiotes with him, they're going to get this bonus. So 20% more match damage, 15% less incoming damage of all types. That's attack tiles, that's powers, matches, what have you. It's not a bad passive. Of course, it only works with symbiotes, and there's only so many of them that you're really going to use with Jeffrey. Finally, there's Jeff Eat That. It is, again, no passive, like his purple. But it's only 6 green, pretty cheap. So you select strikes, attacks, protects, and then a different set of tiles than we're used to seeing. Abyss tiles, which is Chasm only right now, charged, or web tiles. That doesn't happen quite often. We usually don't see Abyss tiles or any sort of like character-specific tiles mentioned. Charged tiles, that usually is not part of selectable tiles when it comes to these types of powers. And web tiles, those are usually considered neutral, like they're for both sets of friends or enemies or whoever. So it's kind of interesting that they put those ones in there. There's not invisibility, repeaters, countdowns, the same old, same old. This is a different set. Anyways, he eats all of those types of tiles, converting them to basic tiles and increasing his own match damage by 5%. And healing him for 3% per tile. So let's just say there was 4 Abyss tiles for Chasm out there. That means their match damage is increased by 20%, and he got healed for 12%. Simple math. This was the reason he was kind of an Abyss Chasm counter, is because of the ability to eat Abyss tiles. And of course, assuming that right afterwards you would just smack him and kill him. But I don't think it would happen as often as people thought it would, because despite it being cheap for 6 green, you still gotta have 6 green, and then you still gotta kill him before he gets more abyss tiles out there on the board, and that's easier said than done. In the end, Jeff's a pretty fun character to mess around with. He's got strong abilities, but he doesn't need the AP to fire these things off. His only constant support is that passive on the red, where allied symbiotes get these bonuses. But even then, that means you have to use a team of symbiotes to really get the most out of it. I'd say he's more like, at best, a low mid-tier. I know there's a lot of fun things you could do with him, but a lot of that is situational. He's not great against all opponents coming on in. There's a lot of people that's going to just kick Jeff's butt and not look back or think twice about it, because Jeff's relying on certain things. He's relying on the enemy putting out certain types of tiles, or he's relying on you putting them out for him to eat. He's relying on getting a bunch of purple just to get his friends into play. His red is probably his best bet, because it's just straight damage and healing. But even then, in this day and age, making 8 red without passives doing it for you is, well, it's not what most people get. A lot of people get powers handed to them nowadays as passives or generate AP or whatever the case may be. Jeff's got to do it the old school way, and that kind of leaves him as a liability. So, unfortunately, I say he's more like a low mid-tier. Sorry, Jeff. Once again, filter down to 5s. Why doesn't it save my filters? I think it used to, didn't it? This was before Champs 2.0 kicked in, mind you, and then before they added our new filter. But whatever. Moving on from Jeff, we have 5-star King the Conqueror. King the Conqueror's 5-star version is very much like his 3-star version. I don't think there's really a difference in there besides his numbers and health. But hey, we're not going over 3 stars, so let's talk about this. Conqueror is probably his least impressive ability, but it doesn't mean it's bad. For 6 black, which is pretty cheap, he deals a large amount of damage. Probably one of the better black nukes now in the game, for the cost, that is. Then, if 1 doesn't exist, he creates a 3-turn black countdown tile. It's not fortified, mind you. That deals some decent damage per turn that it was on the board to the frontmost ally when it's matched. So in other words, it has to be matched to do this damage. Okay, but it gets more damage per turn it's out there. Or destroyed, or when it expires. Now, if one of these turns exists, these tiles already out there on the board and you cast it, it just adds another turn to it. But if you notice, this thing does more damage per turn it's out there. I don't know if it's worth your 6 black to extend it by 1 turn, but hey, it's an option if you really want to. As a passive, he has this thing that says whenever one of King's created countdown tiles, one of his own, he does make quite a few, mind you, are destroyed, he moves a random ally to the front. So in other words, he has a mechanic to help him hide behind other players or characters to keep him alive. But of course, it takes one of his own countdowns to get matched or destroyed to do it, but whatever. I'm going to move to purple before I get to blue because it's kind of important. You'll see why. The purple is Cosmic Tactician. So when you cast it for just 6 purple, he adds a turn to the duration of all countdown tiles. Obviously, this works well with his black, right? Then he deals damage for each turn remaining among all countdown tiles, and damage for each enemy strike, attack, and protect tile. I want you to note that this doesn't say enemy or friendly countdowns. This is all. So if you're going against goons that fire countdowns all the time, this is going to help you a ton. And there's no cap on this. This is a ton of damage potential, especially since he's got well, look at his passive. That just adds to it. See, whenever an opponent creates a countdown tile, King is adding 1 turn to the duration, so they last longer. Whenever a countdown tile expires or destroyed, King gains 2 blue AP. I mean, that's awesome. That's not just friendly or enemy countdowns, that's all countdown tiles. So they're getting 1 more turn on them, and then he's doing damage for all the turns left on all the countdowns out there when you cast this as an active purple ability. This is a solid move. It's a good passive, and the active ability of it is solidly supports it and relies on it. It's really good across the board. You can't really deny that ability. And then finally his blue, which is the main reason anyone and everyone likes him. It's the most expensive of them, but for good reason. For 9 blue, he shifts the target, which is an enemy, mind you, to another realm, making a 3-turn fortified, thank you, blue countdown tile. While that tile exists, the target is away. Hey, what's up, man? How are you doing, Dark? I'm glad you came on here because I'm using a new streaming app. I'm trying out something different, and the chat isn't working on the side like I thought it would. Good to know. I expected the chat on my stream preview to update as other people are chatting, and it doesn't. Huh. Good to know. Thank you for that. Anyways, where was I? So you make a 3-turn fortified blue countdown tile. While it exists, the target's away. Away is a different status effect that came out in 2023, basically meaning that they're just not there for the fight. They're somewhere else. When the target returns, they take damage for each turn that they were away for. Now remember, he has a way to extend his countdown tiles by 1 more turn, right? That means they stay away longer in this case. So he has a way to do more damage. But look at that passive instead. At the start of his turn, his team regains any AP lost from destroy or steal effects. So basically effects that make you lose your AP beyond you just spending it on an ability. So like if Black Widow goes to steal some AP, she gets it. She does, but King brings it back. So you keep the AP really at the end of the day, but Black Widow would still get her AP. It's kind of weird. It's not like you're taking it back. It's more like you're just creating more. It's a very interesting dynamic. It's very useful for passive abilities that say you spend so much AP to make an effect happen. Look at 5-star Samurai Dakin, 5-star Iceman, Mysterio. There's plenty of characters that passively spend AP to make an effect happen. The King will give that AP back. So it's really abusable, really fun to do, and one of my favorite reasons to use King right there, because you're getting free AP, and that is guaranteeing that you can do that passive, fun, free thing over and over again. Also, this passive states, if all of his opponents are downed or away, he wins the battle. So, since it costs 9 blue to send some away, 9 times 3 is 27 last time I checked. So if you can get 27 blue, you can win the game by putting all 3 of your opponents away. And my screen just locked. So, just to remember, that's only blue AP. And what that purple say again? Whenever a countdown tile expires or is destroyed, which by the way, it doesn't say friendly, just any countdown tile is expired or destroyed, King gains 2 blue. It's very easy for him to win the game for you against all odds, against many different crazy things. There are very many Kang-based teams to just send the opponents away as fast as possible and win the game without even depleting the enemy's health. Kang has made it very easy for us to get by some frustrating nodes in this game. And this isn't just 5-star King. This is 3-star King as well. For the reasons we've mentioned here, for having a really strong black nuke, for having a really useful purple support ability, which also can do damage and give you AP generation, and for the fact that he has a blue that can send people away and give you lost AP back, he is definitely high tier. Probably one of the best characters of 2023, bar none. It's hard to think if there's another one that would belong there. Oh, hey Dark. I see you in the chat there. Now it's a thing. Gifting 1 tier. Oh, thanks, Dark. Gifting a... Wow, very nice, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Had to throw that out while I still had a signal. Oh, is there a signal issue? Oh. But hey, thank you very much for that gift there, dude. And I see your chat popped up now. That's awesome. Okay, so maybe this is working. I wonder why it didn't pop up there before. I wonder if it's because it, like, was part of your subscription notice. That's probably it. Anyways, Thank you very much again, Dark. I really appreciate it. And I hope this is coming through okay. Let me know if there's any audio or video problems with this. Again, this is a new app that I'm using. So, King the Conqueror, move on from him. We're going to move to, let's see, once again, 5 stars only, A to Z. Moving on from King to Magic from the Phoenix 5 set. Magic came into MPQ, much needed in my opinion, because, I don't know, I think her 4-star version, as fun as it is, she's capable of so many more things. So, it just, after watching... and seeing certain comic books and the movie with the New Mutants, I kind of wanted to see more Magic. So I was kind of happy to see her come in like this. So Magic comes into this game with a really fun ability, at least in my opinion. What's that? We all experience growing pains. Oh man, I'm still going through them. I think they're old man pains. But anyways. To start off with, we're going to go with the black, which is probably one of my favorite things about her build here, but that's just classic me. I'm a sucker for abilities in every video game that give me quote-unquote minions to do my damage for me, because I like the idea of just free damage outputs in any sort of game that I don't have to manage that much. Just do it for me. I think it, call me lazy, but I love it. Anyways. So Magic for 7 black creates 3 2-turn red demon repeater tiles. So 3 2-turn repeaters are out there, right? And those each do for this boosted 8,009 damage. But take that for a little less than half, and you usually get the real damage. Okay, to a random enemy. You get a maximum of 4 of them out there at a time, but you get +4 to that max every time this ability is used. But wait, there's more. As a passive at the start of the battle, she creates 2 of them right off the rip. And for each of her demons on the board, her demon tiles deal 25% more damage. So obviously you want more of them out there because they're each boosting each other. And then whenever a demon tile is matched, 2 more demons rush in to replace it. Matched by anyone, mind you, friendly or enemy. Anyone matches it, they replace themselves and duplicate. It's almost like a Hydra head sort of thing. Of course, destroying them with like a match 4 through them or whatever, or using an ability to destroy or remove them does not help that. That actually gets rid of them. So be sure to match them yourselves if you can, because then you get more demons out there up to your current max. But hey, you could just expand that max by casting this black ability again. What's that, you chew through PvE with her and Omega? Yeah, I can't blame you. I'm still using Gore and Omega Red, but I will admit fully that I went through a PvP recently with Okoye and Gore and Magic, and just let Shadow Demons and her demon repeaters, it was just like bad guy demons everywhere, and Okoye boosting them all. I don't know, it gave me a little bit of joy. What's that? The delay between chatting and it showing up on your end is pretty high. I think there is a difference between it popping up on the screen and it popping up on Twitch, because I'm watching on my computer monitor as well, and I see it, your chat pop up on the right side, my chat, and then the screen preview is separate on the left, and there's a delay between those. I'm not sure why, but I wonder if it's the delay between the new app I'm using, Prism, and Twitch itself. But anyways, next up after the black, Limbo on Earth, you have the red, which is Soul Sword for 6. And let's see, you do a really good amount of damage. For 6 red, that's actually a decent amount, okay? And it's permanent damage too. And it ignores enemy protects, which seems to be like the thing a lot of people do nowadays, right? And then it also destroys 3 enemy special tiles. So obviously, strike, attack, protect, countdown, invisible, repeater, you get the point. Then creates a 2-turn repeater tile that deals more permanent damage. That's a repeater. It's not fortified, but it's a repeater that deals permanent damage, and you only cast 6 red to get this out there? It's ridiculous. And then finally, there's a passive there. It says her matches deal 30% extra permanent damage. So even her matches are dealing permanent damage to a certain degree. But still, she really hurts people that like heal constantly or revive themselves constantly, because this ability right here, not to mention her passive, is constantly chipping away at their max. And that's a good thing, because there's a lot of people out there that rely on just the long game of being defensive, and magic kind of cuts through that. Yeah, no, I see it a little earlier, but thank you for mentioning that, Dark. I will admit, too, that I'm looking and reading my phone screen, and then when I want to check the chat, I look at my monitor, because it's obviously a lot more clearer when I look at my monitor. And finally, there's our purple Phoenix Claws, which is nice and cheap for 6 purple. Blah, blah, blah. Deals permanent damage to the enemy team. Again, permanent damage. And it's to the enemy team. Like, that's really crazy. It's a nice theme she has going here. And then destroys 2 AP in the enemy team's strongest color. And that's just a cherry on top. I don't think anyone's playing Magic for that purpose. But hey, it's a nice little boon. And also, she takes 55% less match and ability damage from supernatural enemies. Oh, you know, like Doctor Strange and 5-star Wanda and I think Moon Knight counts. You know, like people like that. Like they have to be some sort of supernatural. Well, they have that tag. So it's not going to affect everyone and anyone out there. But hey, the fact that in those instances she will take more, or I should say less than half of the match and ability damage from them, that's a big deal. In the end, she's a pretty solid package. Red is super cheap, and it's a lot of permanent damage, and it can keep doing permanent damage. The passive is always appreciated on that too, because that hits everything. The purple is nice as a team hit that's cheap, and it does permanent damage as well to the team. It has a nice little passive boon, but that passive boon doesn't affect all your fights going in. And finally, there's her black, which right off the rip, start of the match, you're getting repeaters out there that are doing damage, and they boost each other the more of them you have out there. Go ahead and match them. Have the enemy match them. You get more of them, much like the Hydra heads. And then cast it for 7 black and get even more out there. I think she's a solid character. I haven't had really much of a problem using her. If there's anything lacking, it's the idea that she hasn't have any defense or stun ability, but shoot, do you need that if the enemy's going to die from permanent damage so quickly? I'd say she's pretty high tier. She's self-sufficient in a lot of ways. Sure, she needs the AP to do some of these abilities, but even her, just off the bat, she already comes in the game with demons doing more damage for her without her having to spend a single thing. So I think she's a pretty high tier character. Maybe not as high tier as King. So maybe like, what, a low high tier? Can we say that? Is that fair? Since King actually really does deserve the crown. I think it's fair. What was that, Dark? I missed a message there. I have to watch the YouTube vid to see where he placed. He's the only favorite. I use them way more than I do King, to be honest. Oh, mindless one would feel right. That's for sure. They do. Okay, after magic, let's filter this down to 5s again. After magic, we have okay, this one's gonna be a little hard for me to rank, but honestly I kind of already have my opinions on him. The 5-star Miles Morales, or the his Carnage symbiote version. It's really weird. They give him the 8 limbs thing, so he's kind of got the full-on Spidey vibe there, because he's got 8 limbs. Weird. I only got the one cover in him right now. And no, I haven't played of him as much, but take it from me, I kind of can read the writing on the walls a bit. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I've been here for a while. Let me take a look at this here. Ooh, my app let me know I had a weak network connection there for a minute. That was interesting. I'm not used to seeing that. Okay, so the red is this Mega Carnage Blast for 10. Don't take these numbers as a solid indication of what he can do, because I only have him at what, level 270, and most everything you've seen so far is champed 5 stars. I don't have him champed yet, so please bear with me, but we can make sense of this still. For 10 red, which is mighty expensive in 2023, you convert 8 charge tiles to basic tiles, then deal damage to the target. And it's okay damage, but I'm sure it's better at that champed version. For every 4 tiles converted, you increase that damage by 30%. That's an interesting point there. For every 4 charge tiles converted. So, in other words, you get basically 2 hits of this out there. Because the most you're getting is 8 charge tiles converted to basics, right? And so only in 4 only goes on to 8 2 times. So you're only going to get that boost of 30% twice at best. But then you stun Miles and the enemy target for 1 turn and deal even better damage to the enemy team. I don't know if I like the idea of a self-stunning ability. I feel like that's the worst thing about this, is that you're making me spend 10 red and I need 8 charge tiles to get the most bang out of it, and I'm going to stun myself. I feel like that's a fail. I think that's a really bad power in the end, because that's a lot of AP to spend to stun yourself, and you need 8 charge tiles to get the most bang out of it. That's just too much. Next, this is purple. It's nice and cheap. 4 purple, I can't fault that at all. That's nice. You convert 3 basic tiles to webs. That's really not bad for the cost. 4 purple, 3 webs. Can't really argue with that. Remember 4-star Miles? It was like 6 purple, but he made I want to say he made 5 webs. I mean, this is pretty similar. Not bad at all. As a passive, whenever your team matches a web or attack tile, remember, Carnage symbiotes seem to love attack tiles. Just putting that out there. Whenever your team matches a web or attack tile, create 1 charge tile. Now you have a source of making charge tiles, don't we? Friendly web and attack tile matches deal 55% increased damage. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't fathom making a team based on just really duplicating web and attack tiles just for the point of doing more increased match damage with them. I don't think that's really the cornerstone of this team here. The idea of making more charge tiles, though, based on web and attack matches, that's pretty solid. You could do some real interesting stuff with that. The only weird thing to note here is this guy seems to really like charge tiles so far, and he's going to convert them with his red if you give him a chance. But he needs webs and attacks to make these charge tiles, and so far we haven't seen any way to make attack tiles with him, and the only webs he's making is with this purple AP. So just keeping that in mind. And finally, there's a 6-armed assault. For 6 green, he creates 6 okay attack tiles, which, there we go, we're making attack tiles now, right? And half as many enemy attack tiles, so in this case 3, of the same strength. Then if there are more than 3 web tiles, which means you'd have to cast your purple twice if you're paying attention and know your math, empower the friendly created attack tiles by 25%. Then convert up to 4 web tiles to charge tiles. Now you're getting your charge tiles to feel that red, right? Cool. As a passive at the start of Miles' turn, if there are less than 6 charge tiles on the board, you create 1. Well, there we go. That's something nice. Miles is helping to make more charge tiles, and that's a fun thing. Obviously, we could see how Miles actually kind of goes with Mighty Thor a little bit, because Mighty Thor makes a charge tile as well at the start of the turn. Mighty Thor would help to destroy tiles and make cascades and fun like that. So whenever your team matches a web or attack tile, this creates a charge tile. The only thing is you're not going to be matching attack tiles of Mighty Thors on your team, because Mighty Thor is going to be destroying them. But yeah, all in all, I'd say this is a pretty low tier character. I think there's some damage potential, sure. I think the attack tile conversion to charge tiles is a fun little thing you can play with, sure. But he has a self-stunning ability, and each of his abilities well, maybe not each of them, but the green and the red have this thing where they're relying on other things on the board. This green needs there to be more than 3 webs out there to do the extra bit. This red needs there to be 8 charge tiles on there to do its extra bit. That's too much. You're asking a lot for these costs going in, whereas other 5 stars don't ask those questions. They just do their effect without any extra real effort involved. So I think Miles Morales 5-star version is pretty low tier by himself, because that's how we're rating these, right? How they are as a solo package. And yeah, he's not like King. He's not like High Evolutionary. He's not like Magic. He doesn't seem self-sufficient. He needs a team, and that team needs to be well-oiled for him to get really good usage. So I'm sorry, Miles. Yeah, I think you're pretty low tier. BB and Jane will love him. Oh yeah, Black Bolt. Yeah, Black Bolt would be good with him. Jane would be fun with him, but still destroying the tiles sucks. But it is something different. I will give you that. The weird dynamic of web to charge tiles is a weird thing that they haven't done with people yet. Moving on from Miles Morales, we do have, well, I think I'm going to skip someone if I'm not careful here. I think it's Omega Red's turn. Otherwise it'd be Spider-Gwen, so that's not right. Omega Red, the Horseman of Pestilence. If I remember correctly, this is a MPQ original. Omega Red himself is a comic book character, but as the Horseman of Pestilence, I think that's when Broken Circle Studios actually took over and said, "Hey, let's make a new version." So yeah, 4-star Miles is definitely is like the best Miles, that's for sure. So Omega Red's Horseman of Pestilence version is pretty much the same as the 3-star version with 1 or 2 small differences. Let's just go down the list here, and well, you know what, let's not go to the list. Let's go right to the middle, his black. I only have 1 cover in it. I know I don't have him champed yet, but he's close. I just need a few more shards and I can get him there. We'll start with the Pestilence Spores. This is probably the hallmark of Omega Red. At the start of the battle or his own turn, if one doesn't exist, he makes a random 4-turn Pestilence countdown tile, prioritizing black tiles. In other words, he's always going to make it. He's just going to try to put it on black if he can, but if there's not a free black tile available, he'll put it on something else. Each turn, it deals damage to the enemy team, and that's multiplied for each turn it exists. Now, of course, it's a 4-turn countdown tile, so it will wear out and eventually fizzle away, but on that last turn, it's going to do its most damage. And then their damage is reduced. The enemy team's damage is reduced by 5%. And that's, of course, multiplied as well. Now, there are ways to extend your countdown tiles, remember. We talked about Kang and other characters like that actually increase countdown tiles. So you could have this really get up there if you wanted to. Anyways, this passive cannot be disabled by stuns. In other words, Chasm can't even stop it by doing his whole start of the match stun shtick that he likes to do. When a Pestilence countdown tile expires, the enemy character's missing health and reduced damage from this countdown is permanent. So if you can get that countdown tile to expire, do it. That's permanent. They can't do anything about it. That's amazing. Just want to note though that if you're looking for permanent damage, I still think Magic does it better. Omega Red has to wait for this countdown tile to expire to get the full boost out of it. What's that, Dark? You thought this happened in the comics? Didn't know it was an original? No, I'm willing to be proven wrong, but I'm pretty darn sure, like 98% sure, that he is an MPQ original. But hey, if someone can prove that a Horseman of Pestilence Omega Red version happened somewhere else, I'm willing to admit defeat, and no big deal. You need some sort of kind of fortifier, though. Game is a habit of placing a CD where it can be matched or destroyed. Yeah, it does. But I will admit as well that for this whole creating countdowns with 2023 character, that quest was really easy thanks to Omega Red. You're guaranteed at least 1 countdown per battle, and if you purposely match it away, I guess you're getting more, right? Anyways, let's move to his red Tentacle Whip. much better than his 3-star version. It costs 7 red. He hits 4 times for a decent amount of damage, which, by the way, the 3-star version just does 1 hit. Does 4 hits of this damage to the target, and it heals Omega Red for 20% of the total damage done. Additionally, for the next 4 turns, Omega Red's damage is increased by 90%. That's not bad. That's not just match damage, mind you. That's everything. Anyways, using this ability when he's already buffed resets the duration. In other words, you can't stack that buff. Okay. After that is his Patral Armor, 5 yellow. Is probably his worst ability. You can see it's at 3 out of 5, and honestly, I have no intention of raising it. Let's see, he creates up to let's put up to 5. There we go. For casting 5 yellow, he creates up to 2 big old projectiles. Then if he is below 50% health, he is healed for a decent amount for each projectile on the board, or for 25% of his max health, whichever is lower. As a passive, he makes, every time he himself makes a match 4 or better, he creates another projectile. Now, Omega Red's pretty strong match damage-wise. He's probably going to be the one making matches more often than not if you have him at similar levels to other characters. So that passive will kick in more often. But this is just a protection and a healing ability on a character that's just dealing damage due to that black and that red. This doesn't really fit his kit, but it does keep him alive and does help the team, stay healthy with those projectiles as well. So I can't be mad at it. It's just, it's not the main reason people are going to be using Omega Red, and I don't think anyone else is planning on it either. So at the end, though, I think he's a pretty strong character. I'd say he's at least like a low high tier character, if not full on high. He's just constantly doing team damage with that black, and then that red is gonna make him stronger. It does 4 hits. I mean, that's such a simple premise, and it works. So it's hard to say there's anything wrong with him, especially when we looked at High Evolutionary and King and Magic, who have more complicated builds and do damage in a similar fashion. Omega Red just kind of gets right down to brass tacks. This is, no, we just do damage like this. So can't be mad at it. I want to say he's high tier, but it's hard to like put everyone in the high tier bracket, Someone's got to be lower. Here we go. Let's put this back to 5s. I mean, we did have Jeff at a much lower tier and Miles, but anyways. Let's go to Gwenum over here. What's that you, was that dark? You tried using with High Evolutionary's yellow, didn't see a difference in damage, to be honest. Really? So, doesn't the yellow just boost High Evolutionary's yellow? I'm pretty sure it does. Let me, I'm going to break real quick. I think it just boosts match damage. No, ability too. Increase the max health by 13% and their ability and base match damage by 18%. So his ability damage should have went up theoretically 18%. That's weird. I wonder if there's a bug there or something else is going on. It's a really interesting thought there, Dark. I don't know. I wish I could highlight that in a different way for you. I don't know. I'd be interested to see it though. Like if maybe at some point I'll probably go run it myself just to see what I can see. But I don't know. I'd probably look at the number, look at High Evolutionary, see what it does, and just really minutely like study that. That sort of stuff bugs me. And then if it is a bug, I post it on Reddit. I just can't help it. Okay, 5 stars. Moving on. Spider-Gwen, or as we like to call her, Gwenum. This is with the Venom symbiote obviously attached to Spider-Gwen. If you couldn't tell, there's a lot of Spider-Verse stuff going on with 2023. Kind of weird, funny. Anyways. Interesting character package they made for her here. I don't know how to necessarily go through this in a nice, sensical fashion. I think we're just going to start with purple and go down the way. Portal Partnership starts us off. with 7, let's read the passive first, so it'll make more sense. When she makes a match in a color without any web tiles, she creates a random web tile in that color. Okay, makes sense, right? It's nice and easy. Let's see. When you use it for 7 purple as an active ability, she creates 1.5, which is really weird to think of. So 1.5 random web tiles for each tile color that does not contain a special tile. Web tiles accepted, rounded down. So as long as the tiles do not contain a special tile in that color, that counts towards this calculation. Let's just say, for example, you have the 6 colors out there, right? We're not counting team ups. Team ups can't be specials. So if you have all 6 colors and there's no special tiles out there at all, well, you get 1.5 random web tiles for each color that does not contain a special tile. So 1.5 times 6, that's 9. So you're going to get 9 web tiles out there. But that's assuming perfect situations, right? So obviously it's going to be less. Let's say there's only 3 of them out there. So 3 of the 6 colors have no special tiles. So 3 times 1.5 is 4.5. It's going to round down, so you'll get 4 web tiles out there. I don't think it rounds up. If it rounds up, I apologize, but it says right there at the bottom, it says rounded down. So I'm just going to assume it makes 4 tiles. Anyways. What's that? Don't sleep on those protects. They could definitely slow you down while he gets to healing and wearing you out. Fought one where he kept getting yellow and he turned the match into a slog where I couldn't significantly hurt him in time or stop that black. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, Dark. I appreciate that. I would never expect people to be using projectile builds with Omega Red. So, I mean, that is something interesting. Next thing you're going to tell me, though, Dark, you used Omega Red and Rescue together for an interesting team. I'm not trying to make light of it. I think it's a very an interesting way to draw the match out to make it so it's in your favor. I would assume that it's probably better served with someone like Apocalypse or even Wanda, who's going to boost damage and still serve protection at the same time. Because Apocalypse, remember, he likes to boost damage and put projectiles up there too. I feel like that's kind of like a fun match, a nice partnership they have there. Okay, after portal partnership here, we got this black march to the same beat. We got 8 black. And what she does is a bunch of damage. Big old nuke, right? I don't know if it's quite as strong as King's Black, but it is pretty strong all the same. I think King's Black is cheaper. I think that's really what we're looking at here. Spider-Gwen's ignores protects, though, and it stuns the opponent for 1 turn for every 8 webs out there. So King's Black doesn't do a stun, so there's that going for it. The passive is really weird, though. If Gwen's team is 15 or more total AP, and it's not hard to get that, okay? Her match damage is reduced to 0 while she fights to maintain control. But the ability damage is increased by 100%. So that's amazing, in my opinion, because this allows other characters to tank in front of her. You probably don't want her doing match damage as it is. It's not that she isn't good at it. It's just she doesn't have any boosts to it. There's like no reason for her to be your tank. She doesn't have any sort of thing where like, oh, when you take damage, you get this, or I do more match damage than other characters. Nope, there's none of that stuff. So why have her hang out in front anyways? Have someone else hang out in front. She gets double the ability damage when this happens. The only thing she gets out of tanking is she does have that chance of making web tiles with this portal partnership. But, I mean, do you really need it? Like I know there's 1 turn of stun for every 8 webs on the board, but I think I'll forego that 1 turn of stun for 90,000 damage. I don't know. Just me thinking out loud, I guess. And then Drum Duo. For a real expensive 10 red. For some reason, Miles and Spider-Gwen like 10 red. Here you go. She deals a pretty okay amount of damage, but another hit for every 2 web tiles on the board. Now this is where webs come into play really. And honestly, you know who's good at helping you make webs at the 5-star level? Let's just be real here. Chasm. Anyways, for every 2 web tiles on the board, you get another hit, up to a maximum of 8 hits. So you get that damage up to 8 times just because you have webs out there? Remember that black set as a passive, you could have double damage if you have 15 or more AP. So double that 8 times. Just saying, there's a reason why I do like Gwenum in some capacity. As a passive, enemy symbiotes match and ability damage are reduced by 35%. That's nice, but it's very seldom used. It's not too often you're going into a symbiote fight bringing your own symbiotes. So it's kind of, I mean, it's nice, but you're not going to use this that often. At the end of the day, I think Gwenum has a really interesting kit if you base it around the idea that, yes, you want webs. I'm hoping you're putting her with a team that has webs on it, but if you're counting on her to make it, you're counting on this purple. And that means you're counting on her to tank to make those matches, and then eventually she's going to stop being your tank because this passive says 15 or more AP, she gets in the back. So it's very iffy for that. But that purple still lets you make webs. So as long as you gather the purple, you can still make the webs yourself. If you can get that high AP up and have a lot of webs on the board, all of a sudden her black and her red turn into super nukes. So I think for that reason alone, she's really fun. But unfortunately, we just had how many qualifying statements? A lot of if this, and if that, and if this and that. So yes, she is unbridled rage, a lot of damage potential. You just have to meet those qualifying statements to do it. I'd say she's a nice mid-tier. You have to walk into the game with a plan, but if you can make that plan go, you can really level people. I've honestly, cross my heart, hope to die, used Spider Gwen with Chasm and 4-star Miles to generate the AP to make a team where I could one-shot down all the zombie characters. No joke, because if you get high enough AP and a bunch of webs out there, all of a sudden you have a 90k black and this thing dealing 8 hits at double damage. If you down them all in 1 to 2 hits, they're all gone, aren't they? Still, mid-tier character because you've got to have a plan. You can't go in there and just match away and hope that everything's going to be okay. Okay, Spider-Gwen, let's relax for a second and move on to the next one. Venomsaurus Rex. It sounds like a Kool-Aid flavor, right? I'm just, come on, let's be fair. It's really... it doesn't sound like I could treat it with any sort of seriousness. So the Brachiosaurus comes in MPQ with kind of a weird kit. Let's just start at the top, okay? His red grains, which is weird. Let's see. Deals some damage, which is pretty decent damage, really, for the cost of 8 red. And it downs them if they're below 30% of their health. Now, that's fun, okay? Enemies downed by this damage cannot be revived through their own abilities. So basically, he just eats them. Just done. He just eats them. It's basically like Hitmonkey. This is like Hitmonkey's red, and it's just a lot of damage. That's all there is to this. Is that a bad thing? No. Hitmonkey's red is a good thing. Kind of a hallmark of the character. So, hey, we got another character that can do that now. Good stuff. The Symbiote Slam for 7 green deals damage to 2 random enemies, and it's okay damage, mind you. And 33% of the time, they get a twofer, slamming into the enemies into each other in the process, which doubles the damage. Now that's where it's awesome. That's where it's worth your cost. Unfortunately, it's only a third of the time. So you're gambling with your green. Do you like gambling with your green? I don't know. I'd rather just use my green as something guaranteed. And finally, there's the Tard, no feathers. Let's bump that up to 5. For 7 blue, you can stun the target for 3 turns. which is okay for 7. Nowadays, you get a lot. You get 4 turns by most stun standards. But anyways, then the target and any enemies whose current health percentage is within 25% of the target's current health, those deal 30% less damage and receive 30% more damage for 3 turns. It's complicated. So basically, the target you're stunning and any enemies whose health is right around within 25% of that guy's current health. So they have to be kind of close-ish to the guy you stun's health level, okay? They deal less damage and take more damage for the amount of time you stunned him. It's complicated, again. But, I mean, I don't know how much more I could say it like that. So, in the end, you got a 3-turn stun for 7 blue, and that person's going to take more damage, and his teammates might too. Okay? How about that? It's a stun, so it's not a bad ability. That's really, at the end of the day, I'm going to trim it really big down to that. It's a stun. Is it the best stun out there? No. Does it come with extra bonus effects? Yeah, sure. It's going to help you end the fight faster too. It's just, at the end, I don't think this is the greatest package ever. We didn't see any real passives, right? No passive? Nope. No passive, right? And no passive? Aww. That sucks. Because everyone has a passive nowadays. Why don't you, Venomsaurus? He needs AP to work. And he's not going to do anything without it. So, unfortunately, I think, and this is just me, Venomsaurus Rex is a low tier. He can't do anything without the AP. Nowadays, there's way too many ways to limit AP and to limit characters, or to stun characters, or to disable characters, or to do something else. He doesn't bring anything to the table without having that AP on hand, and that's going to limit him in these fights. Sure, if you can get the AP, he might be really fun, stunning and insta-dropping people with that red. There's potential, but you need to have the AP on hand. And, well, that's not a guarantee nowadays, is it? Sorry, Venomsaurus. Yeah, I think you're a low tier. Moving on from that Kool-Aid flavor, we got the new school 5-star Vulture from the Armor Wars. Vulture, again, I don't have them champed out yet, but I have a lot of shards, and I'm hoping to remedy this pretty soon. We'll see. This Vulture comes in MPQ with a whole different look than his 4-star one, and a whole different aesthetic as well. He's kind of plays more like his 3-star version, but there's some differences. Let's take a look. For 7 blue, you go airborne, and you take the target with you. So basically, you and the target are going airborne for 2 turns, okay? And it's because of the countdown tile. When that countdown tile gets off the board, both characters return from being airborne, and Vulture deals some pretty decent damage to the target for each turn they're airborne. Basically, he's like dropping them back to the ground. Okay, let's just be fair. If this hostile skies countdown tile already exists, you add 1 more turn to the tile, and he deals 2 hits of extra damage to the airborne. So basically, he's struggling with them in the air, dealing 2 more hits of damage, 1 more turn of countdown. He's keeping him up there longer for a bigger drop. Stealth Hunter has a passive on it. Let's go there first. When Vulture returns from being airborne, he generates 3 yellow, 2 red, and 2 black. And then he goes invisible for a turn. So the dude that goes airborne can go invisible. That's not even fair. So you're getting some AP regeneration in colors you're not even using. So he can help out your yellow users. Yellow, red, and black. That sounds like, I don't know, Apocalypse, Omega Red. Interesting, right? As an active ability for 6 purple, you get to steal 3 AP from the enemy team, prioritizing blue and green. In other words, you're going to get that blue and green from them first before other colors, I mean. And then he goes airborne for 2 turns. Nice. And you're going to generate AP off of that, too. How nice is that? You've been playing from the beginning. When would you say the meta changed to where a character needs a good passive to be competitive? Oh, boy. I'd say Peggy changed it. I think it was Peggy's fault. Peggy came into the game with a passive that said you've got to have more AP to fire the abilities you've already been given. And it was at that point in time that everyone started looking at Peggy as this pariah. She really changed how people played the game. After that point, we had people like Bishop, with pre-nerf Bishop, mind you, Gambit, and other characters like that. I don't count passives like Old Man Logan's regeneration or things like that because health regeneration isn't really helping to kill the opponent. Peggy helped stunt people's play, and then Bishop helped punish people for playing. It's really, I think Peggy is the one who started to bring it along like that. Is that a bad thing? No. I just think they've kind of created a monster that all they could do is keep rolling with it, because you're not going to give us a way to stop that beast. You're just going to keep giving us a newer, cooler way to do the same thing, and hopefully sate your audience. Full throttle blast, 7 green. Yeah, let's just read this before we get to the passive because it's going to get complicated. Vulture basically does a charge blast, deals some damage to the enemy team, which that's kind of fun, and destroys 3 random tiles. Let's boost this up here. I'm sorry. Damage to the team and 5 random tiles. Forgot about boosting it. I apologize. Destroy tiles will deal damage, but don't give you AP. This ability drains up to 7 AP amongst your yellow, red, and black, dealing extra damage for each AP drained. This can be really strong, because remember, this is team damage, and you're dealing extra percentage of damage for every red, yellow, and black drained, but you only drain up to 7, okay? So it's not like you're draining all of it. If Vulture is airborne, this instead becomes the ability called Plummet. So for 7 green, instead of what we had before, you get this, how do we say this? It destroys any hostile Scowl's countdown tile, which is the first ability he has, right? That blue. And then making him return from airborne immediately, dealing a bunch more damage than before, and destroying 5 random tiles. So you need to be airborne to get that ability out of it. You can be airborne with his blue and with his purple. So there's plenty of ways to go airborne. Airborne is going to give him AP regeneration with his purple passive. And with the blue version of airborne, he's going to do the damage when the tile is destroyed or expires. With the green, he can make it end even faster. So, like, that's really ridiculous that you could cast this green Plummet, destroying your hostile Scowl's countdown tile, dealing that damage, dealing more damage because of Plummet on top of it, and then you get this Stealth Hunter passive of generating AP because you came back from being airborne. There's a lot of layers of things that happen right there because of this. So obviously he wants to be airborne all the time, and he wants to come back from being airborne all the time. He wants both things to happen as much as possible. I think he's a really good character. I think he's going to do a lot for the 5-star tier. I don't know if he's going to be meta per se, but I do like the idea of his airborne play being so prominent, because this will bring characters like Archangel back into the fold, and other airborne play characters or anti-airborne play characters like Elsa Bloodstone being able to shoot someone out of the sky, or Deathlock's blue being able to target him no matter what. I think there's fun abilities in play here, and I like what they did with Vulture to bring airborne gameplay back in. At the end, I'd say he's like a high mid tier, because he does require the AP to go airborne. He basically needs his AP for any of his passives to really kick in. None of his passives are going to do anything without AP to fire off first. And he does have layers like an onion. He needs to get airborne to make his countdown, to destroy his countdown, by casting more AP, but that then fuels the engine of generating AP and dealing more damage. So it's the rich get richer with this character. So I think he's good, but he's like a high mid tier. You definitely need to get the ball rolling, but then it really rolls. Finally, after Vulture, whoops, scrolling, didn't mean to do that. We move on to Wong. This guy right here, he's caused me so many headaches trying to get him champed, and I finally did. Man. Anyways, I've been playing with this character a little bit recently, and I gotta admit, I am happy with what I see he does. How do I say it? Let's start with the yellow. I think the yellow and purple are super important to bring into play here, and his red is really good, but the yellow and purple are like a combo deal. Let me show you why. The Wand of Watum. So you choose a spell type, and there's a list of 4. We'll get to them. For 6 yellow AP, you get a 3-turn fortified Wand of Watum countdown that reduces all damage taken by 30%. So just by putting it out there, no matter what spell you cast, you're getting reduced damage. Okay? When that expires or is matched, not destroyed, but expired or is matched, he released the stored energy, dealing 100% of the reduced damage. So in other words, all the damage you've been taking that's been reduced, well, all that reduction is stored in this spell, and he throws it right back at someone when the countdown tile goes away or when it's matched. If it is expired or this ability is used while another one exists, he just casts the spell. So, in other words, like if you have 6 yellow again and you cast it again, that first spell goes off right away and he makes another countdown for this one. It's pretty cool. As a passive, at the start of the fight, he casts a random spell other than Mystic Mending, which is fine because Mystic Mending is a healing spell. You don't need that right off the rip. Usually. Shield of the Seraphim is a protection one, so you create 5 projectiles that are pretty darn strong. Mystic Mending, the one that doesn't cast at the beginning, is just team healing for a good amount. The Hand of Hogoth is 6 strike tiles that are really strong. This will help out a lot of abilities. It's probably one of my more used ones. The Hand of Hogoth and Bolts of Balthak are my most used spells for him. This steals 3 enemy AP in his team's strongest colors, and then you gain 2 red AP and 2 purple AP. Remember that he uses red and purple abilities, so that right there is awesome. Then, not to mention, you're stealing 3 enemy AP in his strongest color. That's 7 AP gain, and this only costs you 6 yellow. Not bad. Now, why is Wand Watum really important? Well, not only do you get to choose from those abilities, and they're very simple, very easy to understand. You also, and there's a passive that starts off the fight with it too, right? Then you move to a Wong exit, this purple for 7. I like to make sure I have the yellow and the purple together before I cast them, but you'll see why. 7 purple, he goes away for 2 turns. Then you choose a character to gather aid from, which then becomes a Wog entrance. You'll see. As a passive, when Wong returns from away, you fire the summoned character's ability, then you trigger any of the active Wand of Watum tiles. So basically, he comes right back in from being away, and any Wand of Watum tile he had active just immediately goes off. Doesn't matter how many turns is left on it. This is a great way to basically cast the yellow, then cast the purple. Remember, he's only away for 2 turns. The Wand of Watum is a 3-turn countdown. So you're shaving a turn off of the countdown by doing that. Anyways, if all allies are downed while Wong is away, he returns early and boosts their effectiveness by 30%. That's always a good thing, but obviously you only get that while they're downed, so you don't want to count on that. Yeah, boosted purple is lethal. Here. The first of his summoned characters is Do or Die, which is from Rescue. Rescue comes in, fires off 2 separate blasts that deal like a bunch of damage, and if there are 2 or more friendly strike protects on the board, lands an additional hit. Honestly, this is so much stronger than Rescue's version, and I don't know why. I don't understand it. Rescue's version is not that great. It's fun when you boost her, like using Okoye, but with just Wong doing it, Wong's version of Rescue is so much better. Then there's Damages, which is the She-Hulk version, which is 4-star She-Hulk if we're being fair. She deals a ton of damage and then sends the target flying through projectiles, up to 4 of them, destroying them and dealing damage per tile destroyed. This is even more damaging. Really good ability if you just want to end somebody. This one brings in Kamala Khan uses her yellow ability to make a ton of projectiles on there. And it interacts with the Wand of Watum as well, saying if it's out there, she fortifies 6 of the projectiles out there. It kind of is making up for the fact that usually her Kamala Khan, that is, her yellow is boosted by her study tiles. Instead, it's using the Wand of Watum as a study tile. And then finally, it's the Crimson Bands of Sidorak. Wong brings in Doctor Strange, which, come on, he should, right? Who comes in and does his classic stun, makes a 2-turn countdown, and it destroys enemy AP and does damage each turn. It's probably it's damaging, but it's the least damaging one. It's only really good for the stun factor if you really need someone to just shut up for a little bit while you work. No, I answered your question, Dark. I'm sorry. You said you've been, but I'll say it again real quick. You said since I was playing from the beginning, what would I say? When would I say the meta changed to where a character needs to be a good passive? I said it was with Peggy, when Peggy came out. And it's not because Peggy was so crazy amazing, but Peggy had the first passive that really effed with the opponent. Most passives were like something where you regenerated health or something simple like that. But Peggy's passive came on in, or you had someone's passive is like, oh, when the opponent matches 5 or whatever, right? No. Peggy said, hey, you need to have 4 more AP to cast the things that you rely upon in winning. And then she had 2 other abilities that are really decent as well. Peggy's passive was really offensive, and quite frankly, it trolled your enemy team. Then you had Bishop. Bishop pre-nerf did a lot of this stuff. 4-star Hammer Cap, the Mjolnir wielding Captain America, did stuff like this. You had Gambit generating AP freely. It's characters like that with these passives that fed and made your team a beast to deal with, that effed with the enemy. Remember Gambit pre-nerf? He had his ability also negatively affected the enemy AP. Doesn't do that anymore, but there was a lot of things that got nerfed and changed because passives were leaning towards this whole machine of like effing with the enemy and making sure they couldn't do what they wanted to do. And I think Peggy started it all. We see that going forward in this day with Polaris really doubled down on it all, just saying, I'm just going to do damage every turn and every time you match tiles, and I'm going to make more tiles so my passive goes off more. Oh, and by the way, it's stronger because I'm doing it. That's crazy. So I blame it all on Peggy. I mean, to be fair, I think it's kind of to be expected. Games evolve and change as a live service, so I think the game kind of had to eventually embrace that. But it's not to say that it didn't have a lasting effect on how this game works. That's for sure. Did Peggy come before America? You mean like before America Chavez? Yes. Yeah, Peggy did. America Chavez was crazy in the fact that it was the first character with 3 passives. But yes, Peggy did come before her.
So just to wrap up Wong real quick here, I'm not done with him yet, but just I want to double down on the purple yellow combo I was talking about here. Again, yellow lets you do one of 4 effects of your choice, and you get a countdown that's going to absorb damage and throw it back to the opponent when it's done, and then it still casts the spell that you chose. And then the purple brings in one of 4 chosen effects. After a time, it shortens your countdown for Wand of Latum, and it has a lot of damage potential within it. The yellow-purple combo of Wong is pretty good. You can't deny it. And then finally there's Eldritch Whip for 7 red. You deal pretty decent damage and destroying a row. It's kind of like Okoye's red in a way. But it also just deals more damage for each special tile destroyed. Kind of similar to Okoye, but she just needs to destroy the opponent's favorite color. Anyways. Destroyed tiles do not deal damage or generate AP. As a passive, this is where it gets even more fun. Reduce ability damage dealt by supernatural and multiversal enemies by 30%. You increase the ability damage dealt by supernatural allies by 30%. Can I just say that I really like using Wong with magic? Because magic has these minions that get stronger as there's more minions out there on the board. And magic just so happens to be a supernatural ally. Just saying. Anyways, hey, how's it going, Swish? I'm going to call you Swish if you don't mind. Who does he partner with? Who makes special tiles? Lots of characters make special tiles. If we're talking about this destroying a row for each special tile destroyed, obviously people that pair well with Polaris. He himself, his own Kamala Khan summon, what was it? The Wong Exit? The yellow version makes 11 projectiles, 16 if you put it up to 5. But yeah, you could definitely do a lot with that. More special tiles could be made with Chasm, with some of the other web creators. There's a lot of them nowadays in the 5-star tier. Beta Ray Bill likes to make protects a ton. There's so many more ways to do it. In the end, for Wong, I think Wong is a solid mid-tier character. I want to say higher, but the problem is, again, like some of the other ones, he has to have that AP to get rolling. He does passively cast a spell to start, and he does passively boost damage outgoing, but this is depending on who you're using as your teammates. We're talking about Wong as a singular character right now, and unfortunately, he's not doing anything for free, except for, well, his one spell. But even then, yeah, that's up to you if you can get it off, because really it's a countdown tile, right? And anyone could just match it away or destroy it, and then the spell is ruined. So Wong has contingency plans, yes, and he has ways of dealing damage pretty frequently. But he has ways of being thwarted too that are very easy. That just deny him the AP or destroy his tiles that he's using, and he's gone. You can't do anything else about it. Anyways, that's the 5 stars of 2023. If you've paid attention or seen the whole thing so far, I pretty much crowned King, High Evolutionary, and Magic the kings and queens of the 5 stars in this year. Omega Red is pretty high up there as well. It's kind of hard to not put him in the top as well, but I think the other 3 have more in their toolkit to really get by with. I think Omega Red is very solid. It's just, I think High Evolutionary could keep toe-to-toe with him and eventually get it done. Kang could just send everyone away and still generate AP based on his countdowns. Magic, no matter how much you want to deal to her minions, she just keeps popping them up like Hydra heads. Omega Red just has that one countdown tile, and you can just keep that at bay. You can minimize damage coming in from it. So it's as much as it's a threat, it's not like you can't get around it. He starts with special tiles and his cheap red is dangerous. This is true. It's really hard to rank these because there's a lot of good characters in this year, but there are stinkers like Miles, and I just and Venomsaurus Rex, the latest Kool-Aid flavor. Anyways, okay, let's move on. I want to wrap this up. You and I both. Okay.